Hey guys, Happy New Year and welcome to today's podcast episode. I've got a fantastic guest for you today, John Hannum, founder and CEO of PPS Solutions. And he's going to talk to us all about fractional CFO, what he does. He's got a really interesting slant on how he utilizes this skill set. We're going to talk about entrepreneurship, growth strategies, and strategic partnerships. And I'm really happy to have him on the show. So, John, welcome.
Thank you very much, Chris.
Yeah, we got connected and you have a really interesting background. So introduce yourself to the audience and we'll get right into the discussion.
That's awesome. Yeah. So my background is in finance. I came up through corporate finance in a small tire company that we made into the largest independent tire retailer in North America over 17 years. So phenomenal business growth and pretty exciting growth for my career. Started there as a staff accountant and ultimately left as a controller of the retail division, which was a larger division, and pretty exciting 17 years. It started my trajectory on being a good CFO, kind of running companies that are high growth and doing something interesting or fun. Since 2020, I've kind of done that on a fractional basis. So it's been pretty exciting to go and use those big business tools for small business success.
Yeah. And I love talking about big overarching themes for the conversation. And so the first one is founding PPS Solutions and what motivated you to leave a successful corporate career, become a founder, share some of the challenges, rewards by building this company.
Sure. So I didn't really anticipate becoming a fractional CFO. I always hoped to be kind of a whole CFO back in my corporate career, and ended up taking a company, a private equity company, public in 2018 with a team of people that was pretty exciting. Worked with that company through 2020 and ultimately kind of worked myself out of that position right at the beginning of the pandemic. Decided to take my first full-fledged vacation since my parents hired me at the age of 8. So took a couple weeks off and ultimately decided to kind of shift my life after that. And what I realized by talking to some small business owners that were friends was that they make very silly decisions based on their gut, which is a very entrepreneurial thing to do, but not necessarily what bigger business would do. Some of the things that I saw that my friends doing as entrepreneurs would never have flown with the CFOs in companies I've worked with. So I really thought it's an interesting idea to take this idea of how to run larger companies and kind of fractionalize it, figure out how to help small business make really great financial decisions.
Yeah, I love that. And like I said, kudos to you for taking the leap. And most of the entrepreneurs I talk to, they're wanting more or there's something different and they want that challenge, something that really a traditional 9 to 5 cannot fulfill. And which brings us kind of this next question is these growth strategies, and you've been part of companies that have experienced exponential growth. What are some key financial strategies or operational challenges that were most critical in driving this level of growth?
Sure. So growth happens in really two ways, and that's organic and inorganic. Mergers and acquisitions are a large part of that. You can find something that's appropriate to put with your company that fits well with the synergies of that company, or geographics of the company. In the tire industry, we were in Florida, and all of a sudden we acquired a company in the Mid-Atlantic, and then another company in the Northeast, and all of a sudden, one that had 36 states worth of stores. So, that was a big portion of that. Also, during that time, we opened a few hundred stores from greenfielding, just as things expanded. So, there's a lot of different strategies that you can use. Um, I think the most important thing, though, is to have that roadmap, right? The whole idea behind having a financial partner that sits beside you. You have a vision, and that vision may or may not have a document behind it, like a business plan. But what's really needed underneath that document is a spreadsheet, and somebody that's figuring out how to accomplish that. And there's no two growth plans that are the same. One company may need to sell more to grow. One company may need to cut expenses because they literally dominate the market in a certain place. So making that roadmap and plan is really part of the fun, right? What is it about your business that makes it unique? How is it possible to grow? And then ultimately, how do we do that, right? What levers do we pull? How do we get more sales? That's a marketing thing, but it certainly touches finance. How do we organize expenses. That's an operations thing, but touches finance. So finance just sits beside the visionary and helps to pull the levers to create that vision.
Yeah, I love that. Um, the other question is basically strategic partnerships, and most of the founders and entrepreneurs I've talked to, a lot of my colleagues, they focus on strategic partnerships to help grow and scale. So you offer this partnerships with business leaders, and elaborate on how your approach differs from traditional consulting and how you tailor your services to meet the unique needs of the customers in the business.
Sure. And I like the fact that a lot of entrepreneurs have kind of warmed to the idea of knowing what a fractional CFO is. And, part of my mission every day is, when I say fractional CFO, people say, what is that? Um, so I have to explain from the very beginning. The concept is really taking off, and there are a lot of people doing it. I think some well, some not, but those are my opinions. And the kind of the key of that, the strategy of that is that you really need to have that CFO mindset and that CFO experience at your side. So um, to me, a lot of the people in the industry are CPAs that are doing this. They're your tax accountants who have been, have added that service. And I think tax accounting is great, and tax accounting is really complicated. And I don't do my own taxes because it is so complicated. um, it's not necessarily the skill set of running a business. So to me, it's about that strategic partnership means working with the business. It's not necessarily a consulting role because we're not coming in and saying, here are the 10 things I recommend you do. We're there saying, here are some things we can do together to accomplish that. The way that my firm works is mostly on a subscription model. So, depending on the amount of CFO you would need, you might, pay a smaller fee if you're on the lower side of the effort scale, and a larger fee if you're going to take up a bunch of time. But it really is about having access to that CFO that appears to the outside world as if they are your CFO. Um, but they're also working for other companies, and making sure that they divide their time and make all of those companies successful.
Yeah. Yeah, I love that. Um, Kind of moving on into entrepreneurial insights, and you mentioned in your journey that you started working with your parents' businesses, and how did those early experiences shape your understanding of entrepreneurship and influence your approach to finance and operations?
Yeah, I didn't really realize it until kind of years later. But my mom was a scuba teacher when she married my stepdad, and they decided to buy the scuba company that she worked for. Took on a couple partners, took on that store, and at the end of it, had a few stores in Florida where she was still, going in the water and teaching people how to dive all the time. And my stepdad was running the boat and the cash register. And being the child of an entrepreneur is always, something that you just work, right? That's what you do. Vacations are around scuba, everything. I've seen a lot of islands, I've seen a lot of beaches, but always, kind of working. So to me, it kind of set the idea of the entrepreneurship is a lot of work. And, people have this dream and this vision of what they want, but, it takes a lot to accomplish that. So honestly, it's why I didn't want to be an entrepreneur in the beginning. I decided I was going to go into corporate and get a nice paycheck every couple weeks, and great bonuses for doing things that were interesting and profitable. So I kind of came into my own entrepreneurship kicking and screaming, but it worked out perfectly because it's exactly what I should do. It's exactly what I was meant to do. And I get to bring this kind of experience to people that where it really matters, right? If we in a small business, we're not trying to get the CEO a third vacation home. We're trying to actually do something interesting to get the kids' college fund right, and to maximize value when they cash out or give that business to their children. Or there's a lot of stuff that's really rewarding in a much better way. So I think my parents were starting that entrepreneurial idea, but it took a long time for me to realize that that's what I wanted to do.
Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, I've been always been an entrepreneur at heart as well, and it's interesting because my parents' generation and their friends, like, they came here. The only way to survive and succeed was through business, through entrepreneurship, and then they pushed their kids into becoming like these 9 to 5 or going to law school, medical school, dentistry, like accountants, these professionals. And it's like kind of like it's probably for the same reasons that you were talking about, this safety, security, bonuses, kind of but yeah, it's interesting. And yeah, I left the corporate world because I was sick and tired of making the CEO rich, and I wanted to make myself rich, myself and my family. So um to end it, talk about advice for entrepreneurs and who are passionate about growing their business. They may feel overwhelmed by, everything. What advice do you give them, and how can PPS help them achieve their goals?
Sure. I mean, so the entrepreneurs that I've dealt with and what I've seen in people that I know are that they literally feel they have to wear every hat, right? Unless they can afford, somebody that specializes in that particular area, they just put on all the hats and have to wear all the hats. And my message is that that's not necessary, right? You've had chief marketing people on a fractional basis on your show. You've had other people that are, you wouldn't try and be your own lawyer. So why try and be your own CFO? And from the finance side, there's really not a reason for that to do that. There's not a reason to wear that hat yourself. You should be financially literate, which your show obviously helps with quite a bit. But you don't have to be your own CFO, and that's kind of the message that I want to put out there. Um,
Yeah.
you should be good at what you're good at, and really push the business forward in the way, and then hire the people or put the people around you that can make you successful. um, Learn where to add resources and what resources exist on an easy basis. Hopefully you can research CFOs in your area and your area of expertise, and figure out a great person that you can hire to do your to be your CFO in the same way. There are a lot of us out there. I of course recommend myself, but really kind of finding somebody that you vibe with and that's in your industry and understands your what you do. I can still, 15 years out of the tire industry, look at a tire profit and loss statement and tell you exactly what's wrong with each and every every line on that statement. So, kind of building somebody that has your industry experience is key. So, and I would say that finding that finding that person early in your entrepreneurial journey and putting them in is going to benefit you. Having that person sitting by you making the roadmap every year is going to make a much more valuable business at the end of your tenure than it would without that, right? You don't want to bring in somebody at the very end of, I want to sell in 12 months and the books are a mess, and the company is tanked in sales and all the negatives. Really, if you have that CFO the whole time, you're growing every year, you're mitigating risk, you're doing all the things that you should to maximize the value of your business. To me, that's a huge win.
Yeah. Yeah. Like I said, I used to do my own taxes, and then once they got so complicated, it's easier just to you save so much time, and also keep yourself out of trouble. Hire good accountants and legit accountants, and have a good team, lawyers, all of that. How can people find out more about you?
Well, my website is PPS Finance. The PPS is for People Process Systems, because it's what I really believe in. I don't believe you can have any successful business without the right people, the right process, and the right systems in that order. So ppsfinance.com. My email is John, JOHN, at ppsfinance.com. Yeah, that's pretty easy.
Yeah. And for all the audience out there, let's thank John for coming on and, talking about PPS solutions and his journey. And be sure to check out all his social media links. He's on LinkedIn, and his website will be in the links and show notes. And with that, thanks so much for coming on to the podcast.
Thank you very much.